Commander Jae-sung stood in the center of the training ground on the space station called Harmony 7. His body was tall and strong, covered with a golden armor that seemed to glow under the bright lights. He had trained soldiers from 12 different alien species, and he never once had to repeat an order. All of them were faster, stronger, and tougher than humans. All of them had bodies that could heal from wounds that would kill normal creatures. Jae-sung believed that humans had no place in this academy. The day when the humans arrived was the day Jae-sung decided the Accord had made a big mistake. He watched as the first group of human recruits walked into the training bay. They were small. They wore special suits to protect them from the air they breathed. Most importantly, they looked weak. A human could only live for about 70 years if he or she was very lucky. That was nothing compared to the thousands of years that many alien species could live. Mina was the first human to step forward. She was short, maybe only 160 centimeters tall. She wore a training suit that looked plain and simple. She had no special parts added to her body. She had no technology that made her stronger or faster. She was just a regular human, and to Jae-sung, she looked like a child who had gotten lost on the way to school. Jae-sung walked across the floor toward where all the new recruits stood in a line. His heavy footsteps made the ground shake a little with each step. The Valorians who were training next to the humans looked down at them like they were looking at insects. The Krell soldiers, who had skin made of hard material like rock, made sounds that sounded like laughing. They all knew that humans could never match them. They all knew that humans should not be here. "Today," Jae-sung said, his voice loud and strong, "you will learn what it means to have real discipline. You will learn what it means to be a soldier. Most of you will not survive this training. Some of you will wish you had quit before you started." He walked down the line of recruits. He stopped in front of each one and stared at them. Many of the aliens were much taller than him, but he did not care. He was the commander, and they all had to listen to what he said. When Jae-sung reached Min-ah, he stopped. He looked at her small face and her small body. She looked back at him without any fear showing in her eyes. That surprised him a little, but he did not show it on his face. "Your species is the weakest thing I have ever trained," Jae-sung said to her. "Your body will break easy. Your mind will give up fast. You should not be here." Min-ah did not move. She did not say anything. She just stood there and listened. Jae-sung raised his baton. It was a long stick made of metal that he used to teach lessons to recruits who did not follow orders or who were not working hard enough. He brought the baton down hard against Minah's armor. The sound was very loud. It echoed through the entire training bay. All the other recruits looked to see what would happen next. The hit was strong. If it had hit a human without armor, it would have broken bones. But Mina did not fall down. She did not cry out. She just stayed standing in the same place, her eyes still looking straight ahead. "You will do 50 extra training cycles," Jae-sung said. "While everyone else rests, you will work. Your species cannot match our standards. You are not built like we are built. You will never be as strong as a Valorian. You will never be as smart as a Krell. You will never be anything but weak." He turned away from her and walked back to the front of the group. He was done with the humans for today. He would spend his time teaching the real soldiers, the ones who had a chance to become something good. But before he left the training ground, something happened that Jae-sung did not expect. Minna spoke. She spoke quietly, and she was very polite, but she spoke anyway. "Sir," she said, "if you will let me, I would like to say something about what you just said." Jae-sung stopped walking. No recruit had ever asked to speak to him before. Recruits did not ask questions. Recruits did not talk back. Recruits just did what they were told and worked as hard as they could. He turned around very slowly and looked at Mina again. "What did you say?" he asked. "Sir," Mina said again, "I asked if I could tell you something. I asked if you would listen to what I want to say. Jae-sung was curious now. He wanted to know what a weak human girl had to say that was important enough to speak to a commander. He walked back toward her. "Speak," he said. Minna took a deep breath. Then she began to talk. Her voice was calm and clear. She did not sound scared at all. "You are right, sir," she said. "You are right that we cannot match your standards. We are not as strong as you are. We are not as fast as you are. We are not as smart as some of the other species here. But, sir, I want to ask you a question. I want to know if strength is the only thing that matters in a soldier. I want to know if being big and strong is the only way to win a battle." Jae-sung did not answer. He just waited to hear what else she had to say. "Where I come from," Minna continued, "we have a saying. We say that it is not the biggest animal that survives. It is the animal that can change. It is the animal that can learn. It is the animal that never gives up, no matter how hard things get. My people learned this a very long time ago, sir. We learned it by living through times when everything was trying to kill us. We learned it by facing monsters bigger than us. We learned it by surviving things that should have killed us, and we did not die because we were strong. We lived because we refused to stop trying." She stopped talking and waited. All the other recruits were watching. All the aliens were watching. Even Jae-sung was standing very still, thinking about what she had said. "You are very brave to speak like that to me," Jae-sung said finally. "But I am not sure you are right. Strength is everything in war. The strong ones win. The weak ones lose. That is how it has always been." "Maybe," Minna said. "But I think you should test me, sir. I think you should see what I can do before you decide what I am worth. I think if you are fair, you might be surprised by what a human can do." Jae-sung looked at her for a long time. Then he did something he had never done before. He said yes to a recruit who had spoken back to him. "Fine," he said. "We will test you. We will see what you can do. And then we will know the truth about humans." He walked toward his command center. Minna stayed where she was, standing straight and tall, even though she was the smallest person in the entire training bay. She was not smiling. She was not sad. She was just ready to show the commander what a human could do. The other human recruits watched her with hope in their eyes. The aliens watched with doubt. They all believed that Minna would fail. But Minna herself seemed to believe something different. She seemed to believe that sometimes the weakest person in the room was the strongest in ways that nobody else could see. The next morning, Minna stood alone in the big testing room. The walls were white and clean. The floor was made of a smooth material that felt like glass. Machines were set up all around the room, ready to test how fast and strong she was. Jae-sung sat in a high chair above the testing area, watching everything from where nobody else could get in his way. Minna took off her training helmet slowly. Her face was calm, like she had decided something very important a long time ago, and nothing could change her mind now. She looked up at Jae-sung and waited for him to tell her what to do. "We will start with simple tests," Jae-sung said. His voice came through a speaker system that made it sound even louder and more powerful. "We will test your reaction time. We will test how fast your brain can learn new things. We will test how long you can keep working when you are tired. These are the things that matter in a real soldier." Minna nodded. She walked to the first testing machine. It was a device that would light up in different places, and she had to hit the right button as fast as she could when the light came on. The faster she hit it, the better her score would be. She had never used this machine before in her entire life. Jae-sung started the test. Lights began to flash all over the machine. They came very fast, one after another. Minna's hand moved across the buttons, hitting each light the second it appeared. Her eyes and her fingers were working together perfectly. When the test was done, her score appeared on a big screen that everyone could see. Jae-sung looked at the number. His face did not change, but something in his eyes seemed different. The score was normal. It was not special. It was about the same as any average alien recruit would get. Again, Jae-sung said. Mina did the test one more time. This time, her score was even better. Her reaction time was getting faster. Her brain was learning how the machine worked, and she was getting smarter about when to move her hands. By the 5th try, her score was higher than the normal human score. It was as high as some Valorian recruits had scored. Acceptable, Jae-sung said, but he did not sound happy about it. The second test was different. It was about learning. The machine showed Mina a new kind of combat move. She had to watch it, understand it, and then copy it correctly. The first move was simple. The second move was harder. The third move had parts that did not make sense at first. Mina had to think about why each move was done in a certain way. She watched the moves carefully. She did not rush. She took her time and thought about what she was seeing. When it was her turn to copy the moves, she did them perfectly. Not just the movements themselves, but the thinking behind them. She understood why a good fighter would move in this way and not in that way. When her score came up, it was higher than the normal score. It was even higher than some of the smart Krell recruits who were famous for being intelligent and quick to learn. Jae-sung sat up straight in his chair. He was starting to understand something. He was starting to see that Mina was not just lucky. She was different in a way that he had not expected. Your species is weak in direct measurements, Jae-sung said, but you are something else. I do not know what yet. I am human, Mina said simply. My people have been alive for a very long time. We have learned a lot about how to survive. That is what you are seeing, sir. The third test was the hardest one. It was a test of how long Mina could keep working when things around her were trying to make her fail. The room got very hot. Then it got very cold. The air changed. The pressure changed. Sounds came from all around her, loud sounds and soft sounds that tried to confuse her brain. Everything was trying to make her stop working and give up. Mina just kept going. She did the exercises that Jae-sung told her to do. She ran on a machine that moved under her feet. She moved her arms and legs in patterns that the machine showed her. She answered questions about tactics and fighting while everything around her was wrong and bad and made her uncomfortable. 30 minutes passed. The Valorian recruits who had done this test before were done in 5 minutes. But Mina did not stop. She did not slow down. She did not complain or ask for a rest. Her heart was beating fast, but it was not panicking. Her breath was hard, but it was controlled. Her mind was clear, even though her body was tired. She just kept working and working and working. When the test was finally done, Jae-sung was not in his chair anymore. He had come down and was standing near Mina. He was looking at her with an expression on his face that was hard to understand. What you just did, he said slowly. No Valorian recruit has done that. They have stronger bodies. They have better healing. But they get tired faster in the mind. They expect that their bodies will save them. Your body did not save you. Something else saved you. Your mind did. Your will did. Mina stood there breathing hard but steady. Sweat was on her face. Her muscles were tired, but her eyes were still clear. She was still ready to do more. Before we came to the stars, Mina said, still breathing hard from the exercise, my people had to live through very bad times. We lived through times when it was so cold that most things died. We lived through times when there was no food and people were very hungry. We lived through times when big animals hunted us and we had to run and hide and fight. We did not have bodies that could heal fast like yours, sir. We did not have skin made of rock. We did not have weapons built into our bodies. We only had our minds and our refusal to give up. That is how we learned to do what you just saw me do. Jae-sung was quiet for a very long time. He was thinking about what Mina had said. He was thinking about how she could do something that no other species could do. He was thinking about the past, about all the other species that he had trained, about all their strengths and all their weaknesses. "You will not take the 50 extra training cycles," Jae-sung said suddenly. "You will take a different role. You will be assigned to work with the strategic training team. You will teach the other humans how to survive, and you will teach me what humans are truly capable of doing." Mina bowed her head respectfully. "Thank you, sir." "Do not thank me yet," Jae-sung said. "You have shown me something today. You have shown me that strength is not the only thing that matters, but I do not yet believe that weakness can become a strength. You will need to teach me. You will need to show me, and I will watch you very carefully. If you fail, if you prove to me that I was wrong to believe in you, then humans will be out of my academy forever." Mina understood what he was saying. She understood that she had just become something very important. She had just become proof that a different way of thinking was possible. She had just become the hope of every human in the Accord. She was ready for what came next. She always had been. 3 weeks had passed since Mina took her tests. 3 weeks was a very short time in the life of an alien who could live for thousands of years. But in the training academy on Harmony 7, 3 weeks was enough time to change everything. Jae-sung had done something that nobody in the history of the Accord had ever done before. He had changed the training program. He had added new subjects and new ways of testing soldiers that had never been tried before. The regular tests were still there. The tests for strength and speed and physical power were still important, but now there were other tests too. Now recruits were tested on how they would act when they did not have all the information they needed. Now they were tested on what they would do when they had to make a choice between 2 bad answers. Now they were tested on how they would think when everything around them was confusing and strange. And the humans were winning. Not all of them, but most of them. Not in the tests about strength, but in the tests about thinking and learning and changing. The human recruits under Mina's teaching were starting to understand something that the aliens had forgotten about long ago. They were starting to understand that war was not just about power. War was about understanding your enemy better than your enemy understood you. War was about finding the one small mistake that your enemy would make and using that mistake to win. The Valorian recruits were fast, but they did the same movements the same way every time. They were perfect, but they were also very predictable. The human recruits watched them, learned what they would do, and then did something different. They did not fight the Valorians with strength. They fought them with surprise and with thinking. The Krell soldiers could remember everything they were ever taught. They had minds like computers that never forgot anything. But they could not think about something they had never been taught. They could not imagine a new way to do something if they had not learned it before. The human recruits could imagine anything. They could dream about new ways to fight and then actually try those ways. Sometimes they failed, but sometimes they discovered something that nobody had ever thought of before. The Thex pilots were the best flyers in the entire academy. Their bodies understood flying like human bodies understood walking. But when their ships broke and their instruments stopped working, they did not know what to do. The human pilots had a different problem. Their bodies did not understand flying at all, but their brains understood what flying was supposed to do. So when things broke, they could fly anyway. They could feel what the ship was doing and change what they did to match it. Jae-sung watched all of this happen, and his thinking about everything began to change. He started to spend his time reading the history of humanity. He read about how humans had fought each other for thousands of years. He read about how humans had made war into a science and an art. He learned that humans did not have super strength or super intelligence, but they had learned to win battles through understanding and through refusal to accept that something was impossible. One day, Jae-sung called Mina to his office. His office was at the top of the academy building, very high in the air. It had windows that looked out across all of the training areas. From up here, you could see everything. "You are doing well," Jae-sung said. He was not smiling, but his voice was different now. It was not cold anymore. It had something in it that sounded almost like respect. The other recruits from your species are learning. They are not the strongest, but they are among the smartest. Other species are asking to train with the humans. This is very strange indeed. My people have always learned from each other, Mina said. We have always believed that if you see another person doing something well, you should try to learn from them. That is how we survived. That is how we got better. Jae-sung nodded slowly. I have been thinking about something, he said. For a long time, I believed that a good soldier needed to be strong. The strongest wins. That is what I always thought. But you have shown me something different. You have shown me that there are soldiers who are strong in different ways. There are soldiers who are strong in their minds. There are soldiers who are strong in their will to never give up. There are soldiers who understand things that a strong body cannot understand. He stood up and walked to the window. He looked out at all the recruits training below. There were aliens of every kind, all of them big and strong and powerful. And there were humans, all of them much smaller and weaker. But the humans were standing tall. The humans were learning fast. The humans were beginning to understand what it meant to be a real soldier. I want to ask you something, Jae-sung said. If we gave you a choice, would you want to have a stronger body? Would you want to be like the Valorians, with healing that makes you almost impossible to kill? Would you want to be like the Krell, with a mind that never forgets anything? Or are you happy to be human? Mina thought about this question for a long time. She did not answer right away. She thought about her parents and her friends who were back home on Earth. She thought about her ancestors who had survived ice ages and huge predators. She thought about all the humans who had learned to do impossible things with their weak bodies and their smart brains. I would not change, Mina said finally. Being human means something to me. Being human means being part of something that never gives up. It means being able to imagine new things. It means being able to laugh at how bad things are and then keep trying anyway. I would not trade that for a stronger body. Jae-sung turned around and looked at her. His face was very serious. Then I will tell you something, he said. The academy is going to change completely. I am going to rewrite the training program from the beginning. The humans will still learn to be strong, but everyone will learn to think like humans think. Everyone will learn to change like humans change. Everyone will learn to refuse to give up like humans refuse to give up. And maybe, someday, the entire Accord will fight like humans fight. Maybe all of our soldiers will be better because we learned from your species. Mina felt something in her chest. It was not quite happiness, but it was close to it. It was the feeling of knowing that she had done something important. She had changed something that nobody thought could be changed. When do we start? She asked. Jae-sung smiled. It was the first time she had ever seen him smile. We have already started, he said. 3 weeks ago, when you took your tests. 3 weeks ago, when you refused to be beaten by me or by doubt or by a world that said you were too weak. You started this change. Now we are all going to follow where you led us. The final assessment was the most important test in the entire academy. It was the test that decided whether a soldier was ready to go out into the galaxy and fight real enemies. It was the test where the weakest recruits would show that they should never have come to the academy in the first place. Or it was the test where someone would prove that everything people believed about war and strength and what it meant to be a soldier was wrong. Mina stood at the entrance to the assessment chamber. The room before her was not a normal room. It was a machine that could create anything, any environment, any enemy, any situation. The machine would test her by making her fight things that got harder and harder. It would test her by putting her in places where she did not want to be. It would test her by trying to make her give up. Jae-sung was watching from the control room above the chamber. He had seen hundreds of recruits come into this room. Most of them failed. The ones who succeeded were usually the ones with the strongest bodies and the fastest reflexes. Nobody had ever told Jae-sung that the weakest recruit in the academy might be the one who passed the final assessment. Nobody had ever suggested that thinking could be stronger than muscles. But Jae-sung had started to believe this. He had started to believe in Min-ah. The test began. The chamber filled with the image of an enemy. It was a robot made to fight like a Valorian. It was twice as tall as Min-ah. Its arms were strong enough to break metal. Its speed was faster than any normal human could see with their eyes. The robot came at Min-ah, ready to destroy her. Min-ah did not try to fight the robot head-to-head. She did not try to be as strong as it was. Instead, she moved. She ran to the side. She jumped over things. She used the space around her to keep away from the robot's attacks. The robot was stronger and faster, but it was also bigger and heavier. It could not turn as quickly as Min-ah could turn. It could not move sideways as fast as she could move sideways. Min-ah studied the robot's patterns. She watched how it moved. She learned what it would do next. After 5 minutes, she started to understand the robot's weakness. The robot was built to attack with power, not with thinking. It did the same combinations of attacks over and over again. If you could guess what was coming, you could get out of the way. So Min-ah guessed. She moved before the robot attacked. She danced around the robot's strikes like she was dancing with a partner who kept trying to step on her feet. After 10 minutes, the first test was done. The robot had not hit her once. The next test was harder. Now there were 3 robots, and they were working together. They tried to trap Min-ah between them. They tried to make her run into a corner where she could not escape. But Min-ah used the environment. She climbed up the walls. She moved through spaces that were too small for the robots to follow. She used every part of the room, not just the empty space in the middle. The robots were powerful, but they were not smart. They could not figure out how to catch something that was not where they expected it to be. By the time the third test came, Jae-sung knew what was happening. Min-ah was not winning because she was stronger. She was winning because she understood something that the robots did not understand. She understood that in a real fight, the person who thinks the best usually wins, even if the other person is stronger. The third test put Min-ah in front of a Valorian commander. It was a copy of a real Valorian, with all of a Valorian's abilities. This was not a robot. This was a simulation of a real living creature that could heal from wounds and learn from what happened. Min-ah stood before the Valorian commander and did something unexpected. She did not attack. She did not try to run away. She just stood there and waited. The Valorian commander attacked, and Min-ah moved out of the way. The commander tried again, and Min-ah moved again. But Min-ah was doing something else, too. She was paying attention to how much energy the commander was using. She was learning what happened when the Valorian used its special ability to heal itself. After a long time, Min-ah realized something important. Valorians could heal from almost any wound, but that healing used up energy very fast. If the Valorian had to heal too many times, it would run out of energy. It would have to rest. So Min-ah started making the commander work harder. She made attacks that forced the commander to heal. She made it use its power again and again, and slowly, the commander got tired. Its movements got slower. Its attacks got weaker. When the Valorian finally fell, Jae-sung stood up in the control room. He could not believe what he was seeing. No human had ever beaten a Valorian in a one-on-one fight before. No human had ever understood Valorian physiology well enough to know how to defeat one. But Min-ah had. She had done it not with strength, but with understanding. The fourth test was the hardest yet. The chamber became a maze with no escape. Enemies were everywhere. The walls were moving. The ground was not safe. There was poison in the air. There was nowhere to stand and nowhere to hide. It was a test that had been designed to be impossible. In the entire history of the Academy, nobody had ever beaten this test. They had all failed. They had all given up. They had all accepted that they could not win. Minna walked into the maze. She looked around at all the dangers. She studied the enemies. She examined the walls and the floor and the air. And then she sat down. She just sat down in the middle of the maze and did nothing. Jae-sung watched from above, confused. Was she giving up? Was she accepting that the test was impossible? Then Jae-sung heard Minna's voice through the communication system. "Sir," Minna said, "this test is not a fair test. According to the Accord Law, when a situation becomes impossible to survive with the resources given, we can call for help. We can declare this a combat zone that is too dangerous for soldiers. We can ask for civilian medical evacuation. That is what the Accord Law says." She had not tried to win the test by fighting harder or thinking smarter. She had won the test by changing the rules. She had found a way around the problem instead of trying to go through it. Jae-sung sat back in his chair. He had not expected this. Nobody ever expected this kind of answer. But Minna was right. The law was clear. If a situation was truly impossible, soldiers could ask for evacuation. Jae-sung started to laugh. Not a mean laugh, but a real laugh of someone who finally understands something they had been trying to understand for a long time. Minna was not just a good soldier. She was a different kind of soldier. She was the kind of soldier who would always find a way to survive, even if that way was something that nobody had ever thought of before. He pressed the button that would end the test. "You have passed," Jae-sung said. "You have passed in a way that nobody has ever passed before. You have not beaten the final assessment by being stronger or faster or smarter. You have beaten it by being human, and that is the most important thing." Minna stood up in the chamber. She was covered in dirt. She was tired, but she was smiling. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now," Jae-sung said, "everything changes." 3 months had passed since Minna passed the final assessment. 3 months was enough time for many things to change. The training program at Harmony 7 had been completely rewritten. Aliens from 12 different species now learned human tactics alongside human soldiers. They learned about thinking before fighting. They learned about understanding your enemy. They learned that the strongest one does not always win. But now it was time for the real test. Now it was time to see if any of this meant anything in actual combat. A Valorian combat unit was stationed in the Outer Rim, far away from any help. They were an elite group, some of the best soldiers that the Valorian military had ever trained. They had fought in 20 different wars. They had defeated every enemy that they had ever faced. They were confident and strong and powerful. And then they were attacked by a mercenary force that was bigger, better equipped, and very well prepared for this fight. The Valorian commander sent a message asking for help, but help was very far away. It would take weeks to get reinforcements. The commander had to make a choice. He could try to hold his position and hope that the mercenaries would get tired of fighting, or he could try to escape. But if he tried to escape, his soldiers would be in the open, without protection, with enemies shooting at them from all sides. That was when the human soldiers who were attached to this unit stepped forward. Minna had been assigned to help train the Valorian troops, and she had come with them to the Outer Rim. The Valorian commander was very skeptical about having humans in his unit. He thought they would slow him down. He thought they would get hurt. He thought they would be useless when real fighting started, but now he needed all the help he could get. "Commander," Minna said, "I have an idea. It will be dangerous, but it has a chance of working." The Valorian commander, whose name was Deo, was desperate. He was willing to listen to anything that might save his soldiers' lives. Minna showed him a map of the area. There was a network of limestone caverns about 2 kilometers from their position. The caverns were old, and nobody used them anymore. but the map showed that if they could get through the caverns, they could come out far behind the mercenary lines. The mercenaries would not expect them to appear there. "But humans cannot see in the dark like we can," Deo said. "We can fight in the caverns without any light. Your people would be helpless down there." "That is true," Mina said. "But your people have been trained to fight in bright light. You have been trained with technology that lets you see everything. Down in the caverns, all of that technology becomes a problem instead of a solution. It will blind you. It will confuse you. But my people understand how to fight in darkness. We learned this long ago, when we were still animals trying to survive." Mina explained her plan. The human soldiers would go into the caverns first. They would make the path safe. They would mark the way so that the Valorian soldiers could follow. But the humans would also do something else. They would use the caverns to fight back. Deo was still not sure, but he was out of choices. He gave the order to move toward the caverns. What happened next was something that Deo would remember for the rest of his life. The human soldiers moved through the dark caverns like they were walking through a familiar place. They had training in cave exploration. They understood how to move without light. They understood how to listen to the echoes and know what was around them. They left markers made from stones and from pieces of their equipment so that the Valorians could follow. But they also did more. They used the rocks and the water in the caverns to create dangers for the mercenaries who were trying to follow them. Mina showed the other human soldiers how to make the rock unstable so that it would fall if someone walked on it the wrong way. She showed them how to use the water to move rocks into positions where they would be hard to see. She showed them how to make the caverns themselves into a weapon. The mercenaries followed the Valorian unit into the caverns. They thought they had the advantage because they had guns and technology and numbers. But down in the dark, down where sound echoed and vision was impossible, and the walls themselves could be dangerous, the advantage changed hands. One after another, sections of the cavern started to fall. Mercenaries who were following were buried under rocks. Mercenaries who tried to climb around the fallen rocks fell into hidden holes. The mercenaries started to panic. They were used to fighting in the open where they could see and use their guns. They were not used to fighting in a place where the enemy seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Mina was deeper in the caverns with the Valorian soldiers, teaching them how to move safely and how to understand the sounds that echoed around them. She was teaching them something that no Valorian teacher had ever taught them before. She was teaching them how to be scared and keep moving anyway. She was teaching them how to not see and still know where to go. The caves had water in them, and Mina used the water too. She understood water better than anyone because humans had always lived near water. She showed the Valorian soldiers how water moved and how water sounded and what water could do. She even used a chemical mixture to make some of the water bubble and glow, which scared the mercenaries even more because they thought something magical was happening. After 12 hours of moving through the caverns, the Valorian unit emerged on the other side, far away from where the mercenaries were fighting and dying in the dark. They had lost some soldiers. Many of them were hurt. But they had escaped. Deo looked at Mina with something that looked like awe on his face. "You could have been killed down there," he said. "Any of your people could have died." "Yes," Mina said simply. "That is what being a soldier means. But we were ready to die if it meant your people could live. That is what my people do. We do not give up. We do not say that something is impossible. We find ways to survive even when survival seems impossible." When Deo wrote his report about what happened in the caverns, he wrote that human soldiers had saved his unit. He wrote that Mina had shown knowledge and courage that he had never seen before in any soldier. He wrote that humanity had something special, something that the older alien species had forgotten about long ago. He wrote that humanity was the future of the Accord's military. And he wrote that any commander who did not have human soldiers on their team was making a mistake that could cost them their lives. The report was sent to Jae-sung. Jae-sung read it, and he smiled. He had believed in Min-ah when nobody else did. He had changed the academy when everyone said it was a mistake. And now, finally, he was being proved right. He sent a message to Min-ah. "You have completed your true test," the message said. "You have taken what you learned and made it real. You have taken what is weak and made it strong. Come back to Harmony 7. There is something important I need you to do."